Hey everyone.
Hi, everybody. It's Royce Eddings here, the Vinyl Junkie, and I want to welcome you all to the show. It's Royce in the House is the YouTube channel, and the playlist is Vinyl Album Unboxing. This would be our sixth live podcast. I have a bunch of other playlists too. I'm a contractor. I've got a construction playlist. My wife and I sell real estate. We've got a realtors playlist, including a tour of the Central California coast. But tonight it's all about the vinyl, okay? I've got my guest here, Jeff Davidson, and Jeff Davidson and I
Hey.
both both came from another show that had to do with vinyl and competing with your albums, and Jeff kicked my butt last time we competed. Graciously let me pick out the free vinyl, though. I really appreciate that.
You're welcome.
I actually made a video about that. I'm sure you've seen it.
Oh
But
yeah, I've
anyway,
seen
so we're going to be unboxing tonight one of the most fantastic rock and roll bands in history, and that is Pink Floyd. But before I get started, start talking about the band, give it a little bit of history, then I'll unbox a couple of albums that I have. I have to introduce you to Monroe, the vinyl unicorn. Monroe spends, I would say, 75% of her time on her bed on top of my desk. Now, here's her unicorn costume, complete with the horn, but it's so hot, she refused to let me put it on. So she's
it.
not
Don't
going to
blame her.
wear her unicorn costume tonight. But this is Monroe. We call her the vinyl unicorn. Say hi, Moe. Hi, baby. Moe, Monroe, Momo, Mo. She has a lot of nicknames, just like I do, but I can't say those out loud. Okay, so we'll put Mo back on her bed, little girl. So let's talk about Pink Floyd. And I'm going to tell you, if there's anybody out there that wants to share, if you have a Pink Floyd album, my albums are a little limited on Pink Floyd. I'm a little behind. I had some CDs and stuff years ago. Now Jeff Davidson, who's here with me at the moment, Jeff has practically all their CDs. He even has some vinyl he brought with him and some that he can't find. So anyway, so let's get started, okay? Pink Floyd, an English band formed in London in 1965. They had an early following because they're one of the first British psychedelic groups. And as you can imagine, 65 psychedelic, 66 was the summer of love when I think 100,000 people migrated across America and wound up at Haight-Ashbury in San Francisco. Okay. So there was a lot going on back then, and psychedelic was a big part of it, believe me. Okay, so let's talk about for just a minute. We'll talk about some of the band members in Pink Floyd. Now, David Gilmour on most of the albums was vocals and guitar, and he actually took Sid Barrett's place. Sid Barrett was there first, but Sid Barrett was one or two albums. He left, and then David Gilmour took his place in the band. Then we have Roger Waters, who plays bass and vocals, and he wrote most of the songs. And then we have Richard Wright, keyboard and vocals, and Nick Madsen, the drummer. So that's the basic lineup. Yeah, people come and go. You've seen these bands, you know all the band members, but then you go down to a concert and there's 20 extra people on stage. You got a horn section, you got several ladies singing, and two or three people playing drums. So there's always going to be people that travel with them, but I'm talking about the main four core people here: David Gilmour, Roger Waters, Richard Wright, and Nick Mason, the drummer. That's the core people. And Jeff, do you have anything you want to say about the members at the moment?
Hmm. I just remember them always feuding so much back in the 80s over the
Well,
name of Pink. Who was
I,
going to get the Pink Floyd?
I understand that. Excuse me, Roger Waters.
This whole band was kind of shrouded in mystery, and it was
Oh,
like,
was it?
yeah. So
Okay,
that's what
okay,
you would remember reading in the newspaper about them having these court cases and,
right,
you know,
right. Well, what I understand is Roger Waters left the band in 1985, and he tried to sue the other members over the band's name, but he lost. And
right,
so he did his own thing as Roger Waters and played primarily, Pink Floyd songs.
right.
um, but the other band continued, I think, through about 94, going on tour and stuff. In fact, I think you have a a CD that they put out in 95 from that tour in 94.
This is the
If you
make
want to
sure
go
I'm
ahead,
holding it up right.
I'm
This
going
is
to,
the their Pulse live album. And this was my favorite live album they ever put out. I really enjoyed this one. And they on the second disc they do the whole Dark Side of the Moon. So I guess they did that whole tour.
Okay.
This is the DVD of that show. Pulse tour.
Oh yeah. I love that. I've got the Jimi Hendrix Live in Maui. Jimmy played 2 concerts in Maui, Hawaii back in the day.
Right.
He was on top of his game. He did those 2 concerts for free. And I've got the 3-album set of those 2 concerts. I think there was like 300 people there, you know.
Oh wow.
Watching Jimi Hendrix at the top of his game. And I've got it also came with the Blu-ray DVD that shows both concerts. Let's see, Scott Harris, if you can hear me, I sent you a link. Come on in. Okay, let me send that out real quick. And let's see. All right. How you doing? I see Linda's out there and Scott's out there and Laurel Hartzman is out there. Gloria, of course. Okay, so we're starting Daddy Boggs. Daddy Boggs.
You happen to know, Royce, on that Jimi Hendrix? Was it the same as the Rainbow Bridge concert they put out years ago? I know it was.
No, not at all.
No.
I can pull it out. I can pull it out later. I think Hendrix might have been one of Pink Floyd's influences. Pink Floyd had what's listed as their influencers that kind of shaped the direction they were going to go in. You've got the early R&B, which influenced, you know, pretty much all British and American rock, and electric blues, the Yardbirds. I love the Yardbirds. I mean, at differing times they had Jimmy Page, Jeff Beck, and let's see, Eric Clapton at differing times. 3 of those, and 2 of them at the same time were in the band. And so you can imagine what that would have been like with Jeff Beck and Jimmy Page playing guitar in the Yardbirds. I love that band. They're great. So they were one of Pink Floyd's influences, along with Muddy Waters, love Muddy Waters blues, Slim Harpo, once again blues, Pink Anderson, who I'm not really familiar with, but also the Rolling Stones were one of the influencers. Okay, so it looks like we have Scott Harris here. Scott, how you doing?
Good.
Scott.
Okay, everybody, this is Scott Harris, and Scott is a musician. And how many albums have you produced lately, Scott?
I'm just working on my own music right now. That's about it.
Right.
I have 2 EPs out, and I have a 3rd one that I'm working on now.
Right.
But enough about me. We're talking about Pink Floyd, right? So
okay, yes, we are. Thank you.
I have this. This is Piper at the Gates of Dawn, a limited CD box that's got a mono mix on it, stereo mix on it, and outtakes.
Okay.
I do have Piper at the Gates of Dawn on vinyl. This is a reissue, though.
Oh, nice, very nice.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I do have an original somewhere. Can't find it right now.
Scott, what are some of the songs on that?
On Piper.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a Astronomy, Domine, and we have Lucifer Sam, Matilda Mother, Flaming. There's Pow R, Talk H, and then Take Up Thy Stethoscope and Walk, which is side 1, and then Interstellar Overdrive, which is like a very famous song that they did in their Psych period. A lot of people have covered. The Gnome, Chapter 24, The Scarecrow, and Bike. Bike was a big single.
Yeah, yep. Bike was a big single. Yeah, I have Bike listed as their number 5, and it was in I think it was in their debut album, Piper at the Gate. Is that
Astronomy's on this, and it's amazing.
Okay.
Oh yeah. You know what? You were talking about Pulse before, so I'll say about Pulse. The Dark Side of the Moon.
Okay.
They did in its entirety was only done twice on that tour.
Oh, really?
Once at Wembley and once at Giant Stadium. I was at the Giant Stadium show.
Oh, you were.
This is Wembley, right? So I have it on. This is Laserdisc, believe it or not.
Laserdisc, yeah.
Okay. Right.
That's where I first saw it.
Yep. So anyway, Yes, that was an amazing tour. It was great to see them. I didn't see them early on. I'm 53. I didn't have any older brothers and sisters. I didn't get to see them back in the Animals days or The Wall or anything like that, which Animals is my favorite Pink Floyd album of all time. David Gilmour, probably my favorite guitar player of all time too. Yeah, I love Pink Floyd, big Pink Floyd fan. I do have this, I'll show you, which when I was working at, I'm sorry, I'm like moving back and forth with stuff here. But when I was working at EMI, I got this box set, which you might know. This is like everything that they released that are studio records. So it's everything from Piper through Division Bell.
They had 15 studio albums. They're all on that box set?
Yeah, everything's here.
Wow.
Yep, everything's here. It's really, really awesome.
Wow, that's crazy. Where did you say you got that? Oh, look at that. It's cute.
When I worked at EMI Records,
EMI,
I got it for free.
Yeah.
So it has Piper, Saucerful, Moore, Ummagumma, Atomic, I can't even talk. Adam Hart, Mother, Metal, Obscured by Clouds, Dark Side of the Moon, Wish You Were Here, Animals, The Wall, Final Cut, Momentary Lapse of Reason, and Division Bell.
Wow.
Yep, and it's got them in these really, really cool, like vinyl sort of sleeves, you know.
Right.
And it's like that.
I'm really glad you brought that stuff in. Okay, so I went through the band members, and I was going to list, let's see, popular songs, and everybody's going to have a different opinion about this, but I think number one was listed as Another Brick in the Wall, and then Comfortably Numb, Money, and Wish You Were There. Let's see. No, let me rearrange that. Wish You Were There, Wish You Were Here, yeah. Comfortably Numb, number 2, Another Brick in the Wall, number 3, Welcome to the Machine, number 4, Bike was on their debut album, Echoes, Echoes was on Meddle, 1970.
Yep.
Astronomy, Domine was again at Piper at the Gate. That's 67 again. Money was on Dark Side, which came out in 73.
Right.
Goodbye Blue Sky, The Wall, 79, and Hey You, The Wall, 79. So that was kind of a rundown of what I could find as their top 10 songs, Right. And then as far as how their albums were ranked, I wound up finding Dark Side of the Moon, number 1 by far. Wish You Were Here, and that was in 73. Wish You Were Here, 1975.
Yep.
Animals, 77. The Wall, 79. Meddle, 71. And the Division Bell, 94. And that's as far as I went. But by far, the most successful was Dark Side of the Moon, one of the best-selling albums in the world.
Yep.
And The Wall had one of the highest certified, maybe the highest certified multi-disc albums by the Recording Industry Association of America, So it was right there,
Yeah.
And yeah. And once again,
I had the foresight to buy The Wall when it came out on 8-track.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, the wall was crazy. I mean, it's Bob Ezrin produced that, right?
Right.
So, you have that extra added thing going on there. I remember when it came out, that was probably my first, I guess, hearing of Pink Floyd ever. Because, I mean, in 1979, 1980, I was in 7th grade. So, that was like everything. Yeah. It was totally on the radio. It was Another Brick in the Wall was on the radio. Hey You, all that stuff, Comfortably Numb. Right. All that stuff blew up. And then the movie came out, and I went to go see that in the theater, and I love The Wall. That's a great, great movie, I feel.
It is a great movie.
I do have it on DVD. It's a limited edition DVD, which is really nice to have. So I can have the Midnight Madness thing going on. I can have Pink Floyd, The Wall, Led Zeppelin, The Song Remains the Same, back to back.
Right.
You can turn on Dark Side of the Moon with the Wizard of Oz in the background.
Right. Yeah, that's true, too. That's true.
I think what I'm going to do before we go any further is I'm going to unbox a couple of albums. So if you guys have something, save it, because this may not take that long. Well, I have an original press, Dark Side of the Moon. This is an original press.
That's amazing.
What I find interesting is the green stripe across the front turns into a mirror when I look at it on the screen. Let's look at the back side. Maybe it's even more clear. Yeah, see how that looks like
totally.
I mean,
Wow.
why is that? When I look at it, it's just a green stripe. Why does it turn into a mirror when I put it on the screen? I don't get it. So anyway, it's a gatefold. Let me open.
Does mine do that? No.
No, yours not doing that.
No, because it's probably
yours must not be an original press.
yeah, it's probably a different press from it. Yep, I'm sure.
Okay.
Weird.
Now look at this. The same thing happens when I hold up the gatefold. Maybe it's a little harder to see, but do you see like the mirror where the green stripe is?
That's awesome. That's so cool.
And also with the little, you know, the thing that's going up and down, like the heartbeat or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's also a mirror. I never noticed.
Are you in front of a green screen?
No, this is my white screen here.
That's weird.
Okay.
Usually it'll do that if it's a green screen, you know, and there's green on something.
Okay. I'm going to pull this album out. This is 1973, and you guys have to see just how cherry this is. And I know that you can't really get a true look at it when you're just trying to, you know, catch some light and show it off a little bit. But anyway, this thing is there's not any kind of a scratch or scuff or mar on this anywhere. I mean, it's just really clean. You know, it's 1973. So what I'm going to do now is I think I'm going to go ahead and this is such an iconic album. I've got to read every song off on this album. And there's just no way around that. So I'm going to open up the gatefold. Okay, side 1 we have Speak to Me. Side 2 Breathe. I'm sorry, song 2 Breathe. Still side 1. Song 3 On the Run. Song 4 Time. And then The Great Gig in the Sky. Okay. On side 2, we start out with Money, Us and Them, Any Color, Brain Damage, and Eclipse. And that's the songs here. And anyway, and all the lyrics are actually on the bottom here too. On the bottom of the gatefold. Again, I get more glare off the screen than off these lights up above or anything else. Well, yeah. As soon as I get down even with the computer screen, I start getting a lot of glare. Okay. All right. So that's Dark Side of the Moon. And I'm going to go ahead and unbox my Pink Floyd The Wall because it's a double album set. And we'll get that started. And this is going to be a true unboxing because I've never taken these albums out before. Okay. This is a true unboxing. Try to hold this up a little closer. You can see the brick pattern, the block pattern for the wall. You know, that was quite a time in history to be watching that wall come down. That was just crazy, you know. Okay, so this is a true unboxing. I'm gonna have to use a knife here. This is a gatefold, so we've got to get it cut open. All right. Carefully. Take off the shrink wrap. I want to save this label too, you know, so it's the original part of it. Okay, so here we are. The shrink wrap's off. Oftentimes you don't get quite as much glare with the shrink wrap off. Pink Floyd The Wall, and this is amazing. This is absolutely amazing. We're going to pull out side 1 and 2 first. Take a quick look at the vinyl. Okay. Of course, nice. This has never been out before. Okay, so there's not a whole lot to say. We all know it's perfection. But I'll clean it anyway. I think it's a good idea. And I really like these heavy sleeves. Look at this heavy cardboard sleeve. Not the paper that's wrinkling up when you're trying to put it in. I love these heavy sleeves. They're great.
Right.
That Jimi Hendrix Live in Maui, the 3-album set with the Blu-ray DVD with the concerts, that also had real heavy sleeves with nice graphics on them and stuff. So okay, so let's take a little look here. We've got a gatefold. And we want to see what's going on here. And I think, Jeff, this looks a lot like what you're showing me on the CD you were holding up, wasn't it?
Right. Well,
yeah.
it wasn't this show, but I saw the Roger Waters wall show, and that's
okay.
What they were doing was going through and building the wall the whole time.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, I remember during Ronald Reagan and Gorbachev when they were standing on the wall with sledgehammers and breaking it down. And that was something I thought I'd never see that, you know. That was pretty damn amazing to see that. Okay, so let's see. This might be a little hard to read on here. All right, come on now. Okay, here we go. Let's see. So we've got, well, Goodbye Blue Sky, Empty Spaces, Young Lust, all been there. One of My Time. Don't, it's all in cursive. It's a little it's all in cursive, and it's a little harder to read if you see this. I might even have to throw some glasses on to get through this. Okay, so yeah, this is side one, In the Flesh, the thin tea. Like I said, it's in
Thin
somebody's
line, isn't it?
Thin ice.
Thin ice. It's the thin
Thin
ice.
as ice.
Another Brick in the Wall, Part 1, The Happiest Days of Our Lives. Another Brick in the Wall, Part 2, and Mother. I think it's Mother. Yeah.
Yep.
Do you think I'm crazy? Yeah, that's lazy, crazy. Okay, that's side one. Side two, we have Goodbye Blue Sky, Empty Spaces, Young Lust, One of My Time. Yeah. Like I said, this cursive is really hard to read. Don't Leave Me Now, Another Brick on the Wall, Part 3, Goodbye Cruel World. Well, it is a cruel world. I can vouch for that. Can be. Most of the time I'm loving life. Okay, and then of course this is a double album, so we have sides 3 and 4, and we've got Hey You, Is There Anybody Out There? Nobody Home. Oh, does anybody remember Verd? Anybody familiar with that? Like I said, it's right here, and I can't even understand what it is.
I think it's Vera.
Vera.
Yeah.
Okay,
Vera.
thank you. Thank you. It's not written any other place here. The Boys Back Home.
Bring the boys back home.
Yeah, Bringing the Boys Back Home. And Comfortably Numb. I love that song, Comfortably Numb. That's just a great song. I can listen to that over and over again. Okay, so that was The Wall, and this is a great album. Like I said already, it was the highest certified multi-disc album by the Recording Industry Association of America. So that's amazing. And then of course, The Dark Side of the Moon is one of the best-selling albums of all time. So Pink Floyd has really made a mark on the rock and roll history here.
I love Goodbye Blue Skies. I
Yeah.
think Run Like Hell is totally underrated.
Yeah. Hey, Scott, did you have more that you wanted to show?
About Pink Floyd? Sure. You mean you don't want to see my new Inhaler album?
I want to see that Missing Person shirt. That's badass, dude.
Oh, thank you.
I love it. That's awesome. I love that album.
I do too. Terry Bozzio is amazing, and then you got Warren Cuculio too. Yeah.
Right.
Missing Persons were amazing. Love Missing Persons. Yeah, I mean, I have Dark Side of the Moon. I have a reissue. I also have Wish You Were Here reissue and an original press. I have Live at Pompeii on Laserdisc, which is crazy.
Oh wow.
Yeah. This is to me is the real Pink Floyd,
Right.
It becomes like, studio overblown a little bit, which, not to take away from The Wall and Dark Side of the Moon and those records, but yeah, Umadumma, Meddle, those records were really just amazing. So
I remember seeing that at the midnight movies, and I was just like, "What is going on?"
Oh yeah, totally.
Wild.
I mean, stoner movie for sure.
Yeah.
Yep. And I have a bunch of Syd Barrett solo records too. This is the Yeah, this is the Madcap laugh.
Now, me and Royce were just talking.
Yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
How many albums was he on, Floyd? Was it just the one, or was there more?
He's also on Saucerful.
So he's on 2. Okay.
Yep. But really it's Piper, because you know, David Gilmour starts coming in,
taking his place.
Here's Saucerful. I have a lot of vinyl from working at labels that is completely unopened. I just have it. This is completely sealed. You know, this is a reissue, whatever, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, the first time, really, when I went to go see, they had Dark Side of the Moon live, going on at Hayden Planetarium. You know, remember those laser shows back in the late 70s, early 80s, mid 80s?
Right.
So Dark Side of the Moon, I went to go see one of them. It probably was like the late 80s, first time I ever took mushrooms. And I started peaking during around the Great Gig in the Sky, and the tears were just coming down my eyes. You know, the vocals in that are just amazing. The whole production on that album is just really sick. Alan Parsons is involved with that record too, of course. And Claire Torrey is the vocalist that does the vocals in Great Gig. And that's all Richard Wright keyboards, jazz keyboard chords and stuff like that. Really, really amazing stuff. I mean, all the stuff, you know, like you have Time in there, and obviously, you know, that's a big song that was on the radio, and Money and stuff like that. But those other songs that are in there, like Great Gig and Us and Them, I mean, those are really super emotional. It hits you in the chest. Kind of, you know, in the beginning of the record starts with a heartbeat. The end of the record starts with a heartbeat. It's a total circular about life and death. You know, you're born, you're dead, and then the circular, and then it turns, you know. So it's pretty amazing, and how cynical. Obviously, you have, you know, Roger Waters, who, I mean, like, you know, obviously without Roger Waters, there's no Pink Floyd. And I mean, David Gilmour, I love David Gilmour as a guitar player. He's the vocals. But, you know, Roger Waters is the brains and the conceptualist behind the whole thing.
Right.
The great primary songwriter. So, yeah. I
mean, the whole darkness. I mean, there's definitely a dark thing happening about Pink Floyd. It's heavy.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking Dark Side of the Moon. Wish You Were Here is a little bit lighter of a record. Animals is a very dark record. I remember the first time I ever heard Animals was in 8th grade, and there was kids that I would hang out with that were into Pink Floyd, and one kid that I was friends with, it was a summer, probably in 81, I think it was. And he was like, he's like, oh, you know, Pink Floyd, you're into Pink Floyd. Have you listened to Animals with the lights out? Not really. So we listened to Animals with the lights out. And, you know, Sheep is pretty horrifying. If you like close your eyes, the whole thing. I mean, it's like, it's totally about like how, you know, human nature is so kind of fucked up, and animals are kind of like, you know, taken advantage of, but then the animals are metaphors for people. So it's, you know, and then, you know, The Wall is a completely dark record. It's completely dark. But, you know, you have the other guys that are involved in the band that lifted it up to this other level of musicianship too. I mean, I know Roger kind of like, you know, downplayed what their involvement was with the other members, but like without, you know, Nick Mason, without Richard Wright, without David Gilmour, there wouldn't have been that sound. I mean, Roger is the conceptualist. Yes, that's important. I went to go see Roger Waters on the last tour before COVID hit, before the whole pandemic. And he did in the midsection.
Where did you see him at?
I saw him at Barclays Center in Brooklyn. And in the middle of the show, it was all Animals. It was basically like the whole Animals record, it's start to finish, pretty much. And at the end of the show, Roger was like, because he's very political and he's, you know, anti-Trump, and, you know, he's always been like, you know, very political or whatever. And a lot of people, you know, he brings his show to the U.S. and it's got, you know, the pig going around with, you know, it's like, you know, anti-government, a lot of stuff going on or whatever. It's kind of like shakes people the wrong way in a way. But
that's a real throwback, yeah.
Yeah, at the end of the show, he said, you know, besides like England, he's like, you guys really got what I was trying to do. You know, Brooklyn a little bit more city, open-minded maybe to his slant on things. Either you agree with it or you don't. There's some people that like will leave the show. They're like, I can't. Right. You know, they can't do it. Right. You know, but again, I mean, you know, the greatness of all that stuff combined together. You know, the boxing and the records that you just showed, obviously the biggest Pink Floyd records, you got Dark Side of the Moon and The Wall. Both those records are, you know, amazing pieces of artwork. There was a teacher that I went to school with in high school who was a doctor of music. And we were talking rock and roll. And he's like a jazz guy. And he's like, look, he's like, Pink Floyd is on this completely other level. It's like classical music. You can't even compare it to like straight up rock. I mean, it's in the same league as, you know, when I think it's when Pink Floyd were doing Meddle, they were in the same Abbey Road studios as the Beatles doing Let It Be. And you could hear the influences of the Beatles in on that record. You know, there's definitely a Beatles-esque kind of vibe going on with Meddle for sure. I love Meddle. Meddle's a great record. Anyway.
Well, yeah, no, that's interesting. No, you've got some good stuff to say there. Yeah.
Yeah, that show that I saw, the last one of Roger Waters, I want to say he kind of started that show out in mid-America. I don't know if it was in Tulsa or it was thereabouts, but I remember when that pig flew out and it had Trump's face on it, and people were just like, some of them are like, yeah, some of them are walking out.
Right. Yeah, I had a friend that I went to go see Roger Waters a bunch of times. I mean, I did not see him on The Pros and Cons of Hitchhiking. I did not. My wife's a big Pink Floyd fan. But when I did go see him the first time, it was at Madison Square Garden, and they were doing the whole Dark Side of the Moon record. So it was all Roger Waters band doing it. And I was with a friend. I was with my wife, and the friend is, you know, the minute that the pig came out or whatever, it was not at that time. It was probably, I would think it was probably like 2006 or something like that, or 7, maybe it was. Yeah, I think that around then. You know, but still, it's like, you know, anti-U.S. government, you know, it's a lot of crazy stuff that he's into, whatever. He like left the show. He's like, I can't, I'm going, you know? So, you know, it's not for everybody. Roger Waters is definitely, you know, politically charged and angry still at 76 or 77 or wherever he is. Right. But, you know, it's interesting. It's definitely interesting. Yeah. So, like, again, he showed, I went to go see David Gilmour last time he played at Madison Square Garden, and he was amazing. It was great. He came out at the end and he did Comfortably Numb, and when he does that solo, I mean, that's a solo, like he hits those notes, and I tell guitar players like, yeah, you can play all the Bumblebee stuff or whatever, great, but like all you have to do is hit one note and hit your soul like that. It's a root note. And you can do that. And there was a whole laser thing that was going on. It was really emotional. Every time I ever see him do anything with Comfortably Numb, whether it was with Floyd or solo, was always just amazing. And when I went to go see Roger Waters' last solo, they do Comfortably Numb, and it's just not the same. That guitar solo is not the same. That guy who's playing for Roger Waters is a great guitar player, and he's hitting all the right notes. But it's not the bends. It's not the way. It's not that tone. You know what I mean? It's just, it's the emotion. It's the emotion that you put into the music.
It doesn't have the emotion in it. Right. No, I understand that completely. Believe me. I love guitar music. There's nothing I'd rather listen to than guitar music. And
yeah, I mean,
there are big differences.
All those guys that were like, you know, the heroes, the guitar heroes. Doesn't matter if it was like from Chuck Berry to B.B. King onward through Jimi Hendrix and Carlos Santana, you know, even Randy Rhoads, you know, Eddie Van Halen. These guys, even though they had flash, they knew root note melody is what is like catchy and gets you. That's what it's about. It's like good songwriting, like Roger Waters did say in the what's it called? The 71 thing or whatever it was, that live thing or whatever. Oh,
the Pompeii,
the Live at Pompeii thing. He talks all about how, like, you know, people coming to your show, if it's not emotional, people are not going to come back to your show again. So I think that it's really important for music. I think music that's long lasting, that really lasts, has some level of emotion to it that rings true with other people, whether it's, you know, it's all across the board, the right lyrics, the right production, the right musicianship, the right writing, all of it. It's all going to kind of be on the same level. So I think that Pink Floyd did that, you know. I mean, those records really were, that's why Dark Side of the Moon stayed on the charts for so long.
Right.
You know, because regardless of what came after, I mean, and there's some great records that came after, still that record is like one of the best records that was ever produced out of rock music. It really is, you know, no matter how you look, no matter how, whatever your taste is.
right?
So, I mean, like, you have to look at it as an art piece and say, wow, you know, like lyrically, this is kind of deep, and musically, this is kind of deep, and it's all emotion. Like, that whole record is all emotion. And I think that's the same thing with The Wall too. I mean, some people can't listen to The Wall. It's too dark for them, you know? I mean, the hits, Another Brick in the Wall. Yeah. You know, it's all great. But, you know, you get into like Goodbye Blue Sky, and you get into like Goodbye Cruel World, and you know, and even Comfortably Numb, even though it's a great song and people like, yeah. I mean, the lyrics are deep, you know, so there's a lot of stuff going on that makes Pink Floyd. A lot of stuff
going on. And you know what? I mean, I guess you can say this of a lot of artists, but I look at the list of people that were influenced by, and I tell you what, nobody sounds like Pink Floyd, you know? No. And that's what the beautiful thing about music. You might have 20 people, 30 people, 40 people that influenced what ultimately became your style, but that becomes your style, and it can be very unique to you and you alone. You know, you don't go listen to anybody else and think Pink Floyd. You know, I don't.
I can't think of anybody that's really like Pink Floyd. You know,
nobody.
No,
I mean, I think like the Yardbirds probably is like a good influence, but I think when it said early rhythm and blues and early, you know, electric blues, I mean, that kind of says it all. There were so many just great bluesmen, electric guitar bluesmen, you know, and they really did influence. I mean, they influenced the whole genre of rock and roll. It may have just been called blues or R&B then, but you know, most of those songs were remade, whether it was, you know, the Rolling Stones remade some of the old blues song, and well, everybody, Led Zeppelin, Jimmy Page, was it, or Robert Plant just laughed about it and said, yeah, we took songs from, you know, Willie Dixon, and when we got called out on it, we were happy to pay the royalties. You know, they weren't trying to hide it or anything. They just song covers that they played forever. They wound up putting them on their albums, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that's electric hard blues from, you know, the UK, you know, it's like the British invasion, all that stuff kind of went into this like hard blues. They're doing drugs at the time, smoking weed. Things are starting to slow down. Things are not so, you know, like this, you know, everything's kind of getting more into this kind of like halftime funk kind of conglomerate of mixed different things or whatever. But definitely Pink Floyd has this like, it's very signature. I mean, like, you know, you're talking about like the Piper at the Gates of Dawn and that period of Floyd, and it's a very, very experimental. But then once, you know, Dark Side of the Moon comes in, there's a signature feel that's going on thematically, I think, through all those Floyd records going forward. Rhythm-wise and groove-wise, it's all like da 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 ba da 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 ba da. And that's all Nick Mason. I mean, he totally took that rhythm, and they're all playing to it. You know, they're playing their blues thing, But they
Right.
funked out. I mean, like you're talking about like Echoes. That middle section in Echoes is amazing. They break into it's all ethereal, and they have like all these like Beatle-esque sort of, you know, harmony vocals going on, but they go into that midsection and it's like they're just grooving it and halftime in it. And it's like, you could definitely see all the influences of Invasion coming in on Floyd, where Floyd were like more like when Sid was in the band, an acid, experimental, noisy kind of thing, you know?
Right.
Kind of where Gilmore comes in and he's more of a blues guy, and he's playing more of these blues licks and stuff, and it's kind of moving into this other direction, and with Roger Waters kind of gearing the ship a certain direction too. So it's interesting to watch their climb, like the way they went. Like, you know, they had Sid, and Sid was a rock star at the time. He was like, you know, kind of like, you know, good looking guy. He's out heartthrob. Yeah, totally. Like a teen throb, you know, at the time, you know, these kids that were going to college, tripping on acid and going to these electric light shows. And they were like at the forefront and the whole time doing all that stuff. And then all of a sudden, you know, Sid kind of can't do it anymore. And they bring in David, and, you know, David's been a longtime friend of theirs anyway. And they just bring him in and he starts playing with them. And it just all of a sudden kind of moves into this other direction.
Right.
And I mean, and David too is very low key, but you ask the lady.
We lost Scott.
Okay, we lost Scott. Well, that scared me. I looked up and everything was quiet. I looked down, and typed something to the chat. It's like, "Hey, Scott, what's up there, buddy?"
No attitude, nothing. Just
there he is.
And he. Now we're back.
Well, you're just faking it.
I did that. I control that. No, but you know what I'm saying. So.
Right.
Yeah.
What's your feelings on the thoughts of the albums that are minus Roger Waters that they did? How do you rate them?
I mean, I feel like that they're very David Gilmour driven, obviously. And there's Bob Ezrin in there too, producing those records. So they want to try to keep it, you know, the wall, but like the conceptual is gone. It's completely gone. The darkness is gone. All that stuff is gone. What the genius between what was happening, you know, chemically and rhythmically and everything is kind of out the door, you know? So, I mean, like, I guess if it was a David Gilmour solo record, I would think it was better than putting Pink Floyd on it. I
liked them, but, you know, I agree with what you said. It's a missing ingredient in there. I think we lost him again.
I think so.
I don't think that they're. What's up? So yeah, no, I like those. I do like those records. To me, like the best David Gilmour record is the first solo record. That I love that. I'm not a huge fan of About Face. It's okay.
Okay.
You know, I don't really like the production on it. I like the first album because it's in between Animals and The Wall. And you can hear a lot of foreshadowing guitar-wise of what's going to come on The Wall, which is interesting. And it's just a 3-piece. There's a couple overlays and some things happening, but it's kind of more like blues-based, a little bit more raw, where About Face is a very...
Hey guys, I've got to share what Bill Kay just said, because we were talking about how dark some of the music was. And Bill Kay says, it got to me after a while with Pink Floyd that I couldn't just listen to them anymore, as they were so dark, and it affected me as depressing after a while. So Bill was actually thought they were so dark, he was getting a little depressed listening to them and had to quit listening to them.
Yeah,
that's interesting, Bill. Hey, anybody? I just want to say one thing to the chat. If anybody in the chat would like to come on, and if you want to talk about Pink Floyd, maybe you've been to a concert, maybe haven't been to a concert but you love the music and you just want to say anything, or if you just want to just sit here and chill out, just say something in the chat, and I will send you a link on Messenger, and all you have to do is click on it, and we'll drag you in. So if anybody's interested and you want to come on and just hang out with us, and if you have something to say, great. If you don't, if you just want to hang out, that's cool too. We'd be happy to have you. So just let me know if you'd like to come on for a while. Thank you. Okay, go ahead. Yeah. Can you hear me, Scott?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I guess, you know, The Wall can be a doggy downer to a lot of people, you know, or Debbie Downer to a lot of people, you know. It's definitely a dark record for sure. You know, I honestly don't think that like honestly, The Wall is a little bit more of like a heroin record, I think, than anything.
Oh, really?
You know, and the thing is that like, you know, I guess if you were shooting up some heroin, you might dig it like to an nth degree, or if you appreciate it on an artistic level, you might. But it's not a party record. It's like, you know, it's like if you go to a party and people are like going to put on Rush Signals, it's like that doesn't work in a party situation. It's a great record and it's cool, but you don't put that on at a party. It just kind of doesn't work. And honestly, like most of The Wall won't work at a party. I mean, like, yeah, you want to listen to, you know, yeah, I remember back in, you know, listening to The Wall or whatever, but I don't really know, honestly, if Pink Floyd is a party band. They're not, you know, Van Halen or whatever. Right. You know, they're definitely a deep thinking sort of intellectual thing, you know. They're definitely something that's going to trigger off, you know, you thinking about different things and kind of deep thinking if you're going to get into the lyrics, you know, and you're going to take it
throw on some of the hits, but not the whole piece as a
no, I mean, it's definitely like, I guess, Money or whatever, you know, that works or whatever, right. I guess, you know, or like Young Lust or whatever, you know, which is, I love that song anyway, but it's definitely not, you know, listening to Time, you know, is you start listening to the lyrics and you're talking about ticking away the moments that make up a dull day. I mean, you're off to a bad start right there. It's you're talking about, you know, life and, you know, the whole thing with the time thing. It's like, oh, you were born, breathe the air, and then all of a sudden now we're in your 20s or whatever it may be. You just like skipped all the way in like 5 minutes on this like psychedelic thing or whatever. Fast forward, you know, so it's conceptual and it's dark a bit. So yeah, I can understand why people would, you know, be like turned off listening to Floyd, like it can get too deep and too depressing or too much, you know. It's an intense band. They're intense.
I wonder if that's still on the charts, because it seemed like that was on the charts for like 30 years or something crazy.
Dark Side of the Moon, probably.
Uh-huh.
Might be in the top Billboard top 200 still. Very possible.
Wow.
Things change or whatever, you know. But yeah,
just each new generation discovers it, you know.
Well, yeah, I mean, definitely
all of their albums.
There's definitely a lot of younger people that are listening to a lot of different types of things. Whether maybe, I mean, I have younger kids, and you know, they're all on TikTok and stuff like that. So, you know, every once in a while they'll come to me and they'll be talking about a song or be playing a song, and they're like, "Oh, do you know this song?" It's like, "Yeah, I grew up with that song."
Right.
You know,
like the Pink,
that was popular when I was 10. You know what I mean?
That Fleetwood Mac song that blew up on TikTok, and you're like,
yeah, totally, of course. Yeah, exactly. You know, and there are like, again, there's younger people that are like, you know, listening to classic rock radio and getting into it, or they're like a part of like Rock Academy or whatever it may be, and they're starting to get into, you know, rock music and learning it and stuff like that. But there's just so much music that's out there. It doesn't matter what it is, you know, like you could, you know, classic rock is just one thing, you know, you talking about blues or jazz or like, you know, new wave, punk. I don't care what genre you're talking. There's so much digging to be done. If you're really a fan of music, you can just keep digging forever. You probably won't get done in a lifetime. If you're really a music fan and you're like well-rounded and you like different things, you're not like, oh, I just like this. Put myself in a box. No, you like, you know, you like it. You know, you like steak, you like chicken, you like, you know, you like vegetables, you like whatever it is, you know.
Yeah.
Don't close yourself off or whatever. But, you know, there's a lot of digging to be done, and there's a lot of new music that's out there that's great. Speaking of which, I'm going to tell you right now, You all should get on Inhaler. I'm telling you, their album just came out last week. They're number 1 in the UK and number 1 in Ireland. Okay, this is Bono. I can't point. That's Bono's son, Elijah Newson. His vocals are off the charts, amazing, emotional. Wow. These guys are 20 years old, 21 years old. They've been together since they've been like 15, 16. The album's on Polydor. These guys are going to blow up fast. I'm telling you, it's a very, very mature record.
I think you showed it last week, and I listened to some of it. And I really liked it.
What's that?
I think you showed that last week.
I did.
And I listened to a couple of songs, and I thought they were really cool.
Yeah, they're really good. They're really good. And I'm just telling you that all of a sudden they're going to blow up. They just did a live stream on their YouTube channel that was amazing. It was on for a couple days, and then they pulled it off. They're playing a bunch of shows in the US in September. Very, very small shows. They're all sold out. And then they're going to do a US tour in February, March, which is great for them. And it's interesting to watch bands blow up. They also did, if anyone's out there that knows into new music or whatever, they did a cover of one of their live stream things that they did recently. It's only on Apple Music, but you can find it on YouTube, of Billie Eilish's Your Power. And if you know that song, it's a very, very big song right now, but they do it in their own way and truthful and faithful, and the vocals are just off the charts. I'm telling you right now, if you like early 80s, mid 80s rock stuff, rock and roll with guitars in it, with good vocals, very poppy, good songwriting, good breakdowns, excellent musicianship, I'm telling you, Inhaler, watch out for them. Anyway, that's my whatever post, and
Now, how did you find out about these guys? Do you know any of them personally?
No, I wish they're from Dublin, Ireland. So no, I just have been like, I always research stuff on the internet about new bands and watch a lot of YouTube, a lot of Spotify, a lot of digging, a lot of different types of music. I'm very into like the new resurgence of new 80s music that's happening. There's a lot of great bands that are out there, a lot of new dance stuff. There's so much stuff that's out there that's really great, that's on indies, that are kind of in the underground. But somewhere on YouTube, I saw an Inhaler video. It was somewhere probably early 2019. They were just going to play Bowery Ballroom in New York City. And the one song that they had that was on the video, I watched it and I was really blown away. And a lot of people have been kind of buzzing them for a while. So, COVID hit and they canceled their tour. They pulled back their album. They didn't release it. And now they just released it last week. So it's good timing. Everything's starting to open up again. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, they're touring, and they're going to be out there. They're going to do a lot of press. They're going to be on all the TV shows, all the late night shows, and everything like that. And we'll see where they go. I think that these guys are going to be like playing the Garden very soon.
Oh wow!
These little shows, and they're going to blow up pretty quick.
You're really seeing something you haven't seen in a while, then, with the new band.
Well, that's to say, it would be fun to have a new rock group you could hang your hat on.
Yeah.
Besides the Foo Fighters, that's the newest group.
Right. And that the thing is that there's not really like a lot of pop rock bands that have these sort of pop songs that will get on the radio at all. And they're all about like bring guitar back to radio, which is great. Like they're a live band. They do have keyboards, but they're not, they're not a hip hop, they're not dance oriented. That's not what they're about. They write these songs. You listen to the album, the whole record, a couple times over, and you'll go, these songs are really good and very mature. You're like, I can't believe that this sounds like it could be a U2 record, but it's different. It's not U2. You know what I mean? The vocals, you listen to it and you go, it sounds very similar to Bono. Obviously, it's his son. There's and he followed U2 around and he watched them grow, and and everything. So, you know, like he had the right upbringing watching this whole thing happen. But the musicianship that's going on amongst the other members along with Elijah is just really, really amazing to watch. And the craftsmanship of music and songs at a young age like that, you don't see very often. I mean, there's, you know, some great writers in pop music, Taylor Swift, if you like her, you know, there's other people like that kind of like have their, you know, Billie Eilish too, you know, her and her brother write their own music. And, you know, it's cool to be able to see people that are actually writing their own music and not like, you know, just a pop star and they're prefab and here's your music and you sing it or whatever. You know, it's like actually you're like, yeah, you're a songwriter and you have actually your own kind of sound, which is cool. So like when you do listen to them, they're another one of those bands or an act that has a fingerprint. They sound like them. But, you know, us being older and have experienced U2 will say, sounds familiar. I mean, you know, 13, 14-year-old girls that are listening to Inhaler are going to go, they don't know U2 yet or whatever. They're going to go, wow, they're going to be blown away by it. Of course they should be. But obviously it came from somewhere, you know, and it's not taking anything away from what they do at all. It's just very familiar. And there's a template that came before them that they're using to springboard off of, which is cool to see. New songwriting, good musicianship, but also, you know, it's familiar. It's not something where you go, I haven't heard this before. You're like, sounds like a little bit maybe.
So I'll check them out more.
Like, I mean, the vocals are really, really amazing. Really, seriously. Vocals are great. I mean, if you like Bono's vocals, I'm a big fan of Boy, October, War, Unforgettable Fire, those 4 records. The other records are fine or whatever, but those 4 records to me are, you know, I grew up with those records. I was 13 when U2 came out. I had MTV in 81. You know, that was a big thing for me or whatever. So it rings true and interesting to myself to see a 20-year-old, 21-year-old band coming out with such great potential and going, wow. And then you go, wait a minute. It's actually Elijah is, you know, Bono's son. You're like, Sometimes that falls short with these stars. They're like, you know, it's kid or whatever. You know, but he's not going off of that at all. He's not like, you know, Bono's son. Not like that at all. There's no mention of that. Of course, amongst the fan base and the people that are into them, older people, no. And then the younger people that are like into like the 80s, you know, that are starting to listen, you know, are Inhaler fans, know that of course. Yeah, it's Bono's son. But like, but they're not going off of the stardom. They're not trying to use that at all and being like, yeah. There's none of that.
Right.
Which is cool. So next.
I always loved U2, so I'm going to check them out more, you know.
Yeah, I love U2. U2 also. You know, I really miss those MTV videos and the late night Headbangers Ball, which I always stayed up to watch. I mean, that was kind of a golden era for being introduced to so many different bands that you may hear once in a while on the radio, but to see the videos, you know, the videos being played, and because I mean, I have to admit, there's been periods of time in my life where I kind of get music tunnel vision. I'm so into what I'm listening to that nothing compares to it, you know, and it kind of gets, you know, I miss a lot of things, but when you're sitting there watching it on television, it's a game changer. You know, I became fans of so many bands I would have never became fans of.
Right. Well, it was just a new way to check out new music, you know.
Yeah, when I turn on MTV and it's like ridiculousness on both channels all the way across, you know, day into the wee hours, and you turn it on the next day and it's the same thing. What the hell is that? I mean, who's watching that?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Yeah, I mean, like all the kids though, like that are like into 80s music and stuff, like are gonna go to YouTube and they're gonna go and find the old MTV shows and watch that, or they're going to go to XM 80s on the 8 or whatever that have like, you know, all the old VJs on there, you know. But it's really hard. It's like you, Royce, trying to explain to someone like me what it was like growing up in the 60s and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, I was, you know, I'm 67. MTV is my generation. 1981, I had it. I had 80 AM radio before that. I didn't have FM radio. And then when and I started listening to FM in 81, but in August of 81, I had it. And when that went on, I had it. And it was on constantly. And all the music that they played across the board, you got Iron Maiden, you got Duran Duran, you got you got The Cure, you got Judas Priest, Van Halen, all the bands of the time. It didn't matter about genre. It was pop. I don't care what anybody says. It was all pop. So it's like everything that was pop was on that station. And if you were young and, you know, impressionable and into music, you know, to me, it was like I didn't really decipher or discriminate against Michael Jackson, Run DMC, you know, again, you know, all the new wave stuff, Missing Persons in Berlin. I'm huge fans of those bands. You know, things that came up all across that. I mean, like the MTV concerts that happened on Saturday nights where they'd have Thompson Twins, they'd have Rush, you know, there's so much different stuff that was on there. Wow, wow, wow. I mean, like to me, all that stuff was just, as a kid, I didn't have that judgment thing about it. I was just like, wow, what's that? And wow, what's that? And like, as a music sponge, just grabbing it all and watching it visually at the time, when it's the same thing when you would listen to the radio. You want to hear your song. You'd listen to the radio over and over again until that song played. Same thing with MTV. You're like, I want to see my video. You wait and wait. Oh, my video's being played, you know, and like whatever. And then they had the focuses like, you know, Headbangers Ball, 120 Minutes. They had all the other shows that started coming on there. Like there was like Beavis and Butthead, and you know, even Syphil and Ollie was amazing. Syphil and Ollie, I'm a huge Syphil and Ollie fan. You love that stuff too. It was just it was a great, interesting channel when it first hit. You know, oh, you had it in stereo. Did you have the stereo hookup? You know, it was amazing. It was just an amazing time to experience music.
It was an amazing time.
GBs, I didn't see it. I didn't see the Fillmore East. I wish I did. Everyone wished they were born 10 or 15 years earlier than they were. You know? Yeah, you know, it's just the way it is. You know, you wish you were younger or whatever, you know, and to me, it would have been like, you know, Fillmore East, Studio 54, Max's Kansas City, you know, all that stuff. I don't care if it was dance club or it was rock club. All that stuff that happened back then would have been amazing to have been a part of. And yeah, you probably would have never gotten to Studio 54, but probably would have got into Paradise Garage. And that's even a better disco scene than Studio 54 was, honestly.
Well, you know, I probably am better off to have been right where I was any sooner. When I think about the whole migration to Haight-Ashbury, 100,000 people, you know, and my next door neighbor used to be a police officer in San Francisco. I've told this story before. I don't want to get real redundant here, but he was getting in a lot of trouble as a teenager, him and his friends. So his dad being career military, Pete joined the Army, and he was actually hoping to go to Vietnam. I don't know if his dad had any influence or what, because dad was career military, but Pete wound up being sent to Germany. Anyway, but when he got out of the Army and he hooked up with his old buddies that, you know, he was getting in trouble with, they'd all joined the Hells Angels, you know. So his best friend Fuki was with Sonny Barger, you know, at the Oakland chapter and stuff. Anyway, fast forward, so Pete's up there. Pete was 9 years older than me, you know, so he's like in his mid 70s right now. In fact, he's in the hospital right now. But anyway, Pete would tell me these stories: Golden Gate Park, Jefferson Airplane, Grateful Dead, every band you can think of, Santana. They all played for free there, you know. And he'd get sent there undercover. You know, he's supposed to try to bust people, but I think he probably wound up getting higher than anybody there. If
Watch the concert.
yeah, yeah. But anyway, Pete was a great guy. He got me into surfing, and we sailed a sailboat out to islands to surf, and he sailed a sailboat twice to Hawaii and back from California. And anyway, great guy. But it was just interesting. Had I been a few years younger and took off with my long hair and bell bottoms up to Haight-Ashbury, no telling if I ever came back.
Right.
or survived it, because I know that. I saw what the aftermath was a few years later. I was in the middle of that, but it was like totally insane up there.
Yeah, my mother-in-law actually was out there back then, in around 65, 66, and she has lots of stories about seeing Jefferson Airplane and the Grateful Dead and stuff like that. And then there's a person too that I was acquainted with that worked the box office at the Fillmore East, and tells stories all about hanging out with Keith Moon and the Who, and going to see Hendrix with the Band of Gypsies, and going on stage and singing "All Lang Syne." And I mean that to me would have been the most amazing thing to have seen in rock history. Would have been the Fillmore East, and to have been in New York City in like 68, 69 would have been a really, really amazing thing. And I do know there are people that like hung out in the New York City rock scene that were 15, 20 years older than me, that were still hanging out, that were a part of that. Like they saw Hendrix at the Fillmore East and went to Woodstock and stuff like that. And that's just, I mean, that's music history. That's classic rock history. Seeing Led Zeppelin open for Vanilla Fudge. I mean, that's
right.
Ridiculous.
Right. Vanilla Fudge was a good old band too. Very popular for a while.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway,
have y'all ever heard of Kane's Ballroom in Tulsa? Have y'all ever heard of that?
No.
It's a world famous honky tonk in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It goes back to the 1920s. Any cowboy or Hank Williams and Van Halen played there in like 78. They paid him like $200 or $300. But they also had it's the only place left that the Sex Pistols have ever played that's left in America.
Oh,
and
really?
They had in the backstage area where Sid had punched a hole in the wall, and they've taken it, and I guess they remodeled the backstage area, and they cut that sheetrock out and framed it and put it in the office. But anyway,
oh my God, yeah,
that's our whole rock history in Tulsa area. But when you said Bow Wow Wow, Scott, that reminded me of, because I had seen Bow Wow Wow there in like 1981 or something.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was.
So me, like being 1967, Annabella Lewin's 1966, and I mean, I that was my teen idol. I loved her.
Yeah.
Her and Terry Nunn from Berlin. But honestly, though, like as far as teen idols are concerned, back then there was no teen idols besides Annabella.
No,
none. 1981, 82, 16. She was 14. Like there was no one.
Yeah, she was young.
Yeah, she was young. But that's amazing. Wow. I mean, like to me, like I'm a huge Bow Wow Wow fan. I've been a Bow Wow Wow fan since '81. Since when they played the MTV, what's it called? The New Year's Eve, first New Year's Eve ball they ever had. In 81 to 82, they played it. And when I saw them, this is before I Want Candy, and I was like, wow, I love these guys. They were really interesting to me, and I started buying all their stuff. And then that
was Bowser and the gang, right? I mean, Bowser was in Bow Wow Wow.
No, Bow Wow Wow was okay. So Bow Wow Wow was like a new wave-ish kind of band, but they came out of Adam. They came out of Adam and the Ants.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Adam and the Ants. Okay.
The three guys that were in Adam and the Ants. Basically, Malcolm McLaren, who Malcolm McLaren, like he managed the Sex Pistols, he managed the New York Dolls or whatever. He managed also Adam from Adam and the Ants. And when he had a falling out with Adam, and he took these 3 guys that were in Adam and the Ants and like put a female 13-year-old underage girl out front of the band. And they were like in their 20s, and it was very controversial at the time or whatever. She's very young.
She had a mohawk.
She had yeah. At a certain point, they started shaving mohawks, and they were very famous for that. And they did a cover of "I Want Candy" on MTV that became a huge hit for them.
I remember.
But they were much more than that. They were like this. We have a guitar player, Matthew Ashman, who he's no longer with us, but he was a rockabilly guy. So he had his rockabilly guitar sound, sort of like Brian Setzer from the, Stray Cats. So you kind of have that going on, a twangy 50s kind of thing. Then you have Lee Gorman, who's playing bass, and he's playing these slap bass lines, totally influenced Flea from Red Hot Chili Peppers and all these other people. Yeah, Red Hot Chili Peppers are huge Bow Wow Wow fans.
Oh,
and then you have Dave Barbarossa playing drums, and he's playing like these Latin kind of Caribbean kind of rhythms. So it's like, it's not this normal like new wave kind of thing. It's this tribal thing that's going on with this 50s surf kind of guitar going on with these female vocals over it. They don't sound like anybody else. It's like Bow Wow Wow sound like Bow Wow Wow. They don't sound like anyone else. So
did you like them?
Did I like them?
Did you like them? Yeah.
No, I hated them. No, I loved them. I loved all the MTV New Wave stuff, along with I was as into Iron Maiden and Motley Crue as I was into Bow Wow Wow and Duran Duran.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious, because
I just loved all that.
MTV music videos was a game changer. You kind of got into everybody,
Well, that's how you discovered the music like that, because they would play, Bow Wow Wow or Duran Duran, Flock of Seagulls.
I discovered so many bands there.
Can you see this?
No, yeah, what is it?
This is Bow Wow Wow's "I Want Candy" record. This is a promo, a 24 by 24.
Yeah, that's the young girl you were talking about, the front of the band.
Yes, Annabelle Lewin. She was in the band, and this is an iconic record. This is an RCA record, but a person that I was friends with knew I was a huge fan, and she worked at a record shop, and she gave it to me in 1984.
Cool.
Okay.
Wow, that's nice.
And it's framed. It's framed. I still have it. This is like original.
That's cool.
So yeah.
That's nice. Yeah.
She's a very pretty girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was beautiful.
Very young.
but I was
young.
But let's put it this way: I was 14 and she was 15. So.
Right.
You're too old for you.
Well, now she's 54, so she's 54 now.
15. When you were 15 looked very mature. Now 30 doesn't look mature. It's like, who are these kids? They even out of high school yet?
Yep.
Well, to me, it was really surprising that she was that young, because she was a really good front person.
Yes, totally. If you watch it, there's a live video that they have. I forget the name of the video and where it was filmed, but it's from 1982, and she's amazing live. She was amazing. She was like she was way beyond her years vocally, and just the way she presented herself and everything. She was a great front person. Very underrated. Very underrated.
Okay.
How many albums did they do?
Technically, they really only did 2 records.
I didn't think they did that many.
They have 2 records. Hey, Dan.
Hey, guys.
They have 2 records. That's basically it. They have Sea Jungle, which has Chihuahua on it. And then they have When the Going Gets Tough, the Tough Get Going, which is after I Want Candy. So all the rest of the stuff are all reissues and singles and 12 inches and all that other stuff, and they just packaged them. They got signed to RCA. They did a bunch of songs with Malcolm McLaren, and those were all like indie produced, not RCA. They put that stuff out, and then they got a RCA deal. And when they did the RCA deal, then they did Sea Jungle, that record, which has Chihuahua on it. And then I Want Candy came out. That was on a 12-inch and some other different things or whatever. And then they put together some new recordings that they did along with I Want Candy. And that thing that I just showed you before is I Want Candy, which is a U.S. press. That's not a UK thing. That was something that was made for the US audiences when I Want Candy came out and became big. And so, yeah, and then they did When the Going Gets Tough, the Tough Get Going, which Annabella started writing the lyrics, and then they started having a fallout, and they actually fired her over the phone.
Let me ask you a question, Scott. Now, you do weddings and stuff, right? You DJ weddings and whatever they hire you to do.
Yeah, exactly.
What is getting requested a lot now for you to play?
Well, it depends. I mean, mostly the thing is that like for the dance portions that are going on, it's usually pop music. So it depends on the taste of the couple and the crowd. So mostly,
that's right.
You know, sometimes they're like very hip hop based and pop based. Sometimes they're a little bit more dance floor based. So it depends. You know, it's like Beyonce and, you know, Dua Lipa and that kind of thing.
I'm surprised how popular like hip hop and rap still are. Because I went through a little phase where I was listening to, you know, Tupac and 50 Cent and The Game and Rabbit, and, you know what I'm saying? And I actually enjoyed every bit of it. And once you start listening to some, it branches off and you listen to other things. And then I kind of stopped. And now I'm finding out that my 16-year-old grandson and my 13-year-old granddaughter, it's like all they listen to, you know?
Yeah.
They don't even know anybody else.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it depends on where they're getting their music from, too. I mean, if they're on TikTok, then all of a sudden, you know, a song will, you know, a song will come up or whatever, you know?
Yeah. Sorry. My granddaughter had put a little TikTok, a few second long thing on TikTok, and it went viral with something like, you know, 150,000 views or something insane. You know?
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah.
Old, yeah.
TikTok is pretty crazy. It really is. It's a whole other level.
Let's check in with Dan here. He's got a big day tomorrow. How are you?
I'm surviving. Been pretty busy. Been pretty busy today, getting ready for the memorial tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm surprised to see you. You said everything was packed away and stuff.
Well, I've got 3 cameras, so I grabbed one, hooked it up, so it was.
Well, it looks really good. You must have good stuff.
Well, I've got my typical studio stuff here. Everything I had packed up were my cameras and my tablet and everything else, but it's no biggie. Everything's charged up, ready to go tomorrow. Oh, yes. I want to thank George again for that portrait of my wife that's going to be displayed tomorrow.
Hey, George, you know we all love you, man. You're such a big part of everything we do, you know. Can't thank you enough. Always been there for everybody, you know. George has always been there for everybody. Yeah, he's an amazing guy.
Yeah, after tomorrow, it's like a whole new life gets to start, you know.
Yeah, Julia, that's right, Julia. That is a beautiful portrait. And George is saying, "My honor, Dan," here in the chat. Yeah.
And something we did too. We took the picture of the portrait, and something we're doing at the memorial tomorrow. We're gonna have we're having dinner as well. So we got all these tables set up, and my daughter got these little picture stands. So we went through and picked a whole lot of pictures from my wife's life and all that. And the portrait is one of them. So we're gonna have her portrait's gonna be on all the tables as well.
Yeah. God, that's great. That's awesome.
No, we got plenty of tissue too. It's going to be sad.
No, I can imagine. Yeah. We'll be filming for you, brother.
And that will be streamed too. So if y'all, you know.
Oh, okay. Just the facts. Let's talk.
Yeah. Actually go to youtube.com/askadan. ASKADAN. I used to manage a band called Aska, and they called me Aska Dan.
I remember that. So it's YouTube. What again?
Just youtube.com/askadan.
Okay, I got it.
And it'll be displayed on. It'll be.
What time does that start?
It starts at 6 o'clock. On my YouTube page, it'll be displayed. You know, the memorial. Just click on. You can go there now and click on it and set the reminder too.
Okay, so that's 6 p.m. So the California time would be like 4 then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Robin said she didn't want everybody to be sad at her funeral, so she wanted to be like party atmosphere. So got a few sad videos, and then we go into her playlist. You know, we got people like Led Zeppelin, Stairway to Heaven.
Oh, nice.
Tom Petty, Fleetwood Mac, Foo Fighters, Golden Earring. So, you know,
I like Golden Earring. Twilight Zone, slipping into the Twilight Zone. I love that song.
Our song was Radar Love. That was kind of our song.
Yeah, Radar Love. Yeah.
Now the playlist won't be on the live stream because I've got videos with Aerosmith music in the background. So that's going to be the dinner portion of the service, and it won't be live streamed.
Okay.
But I made sure that on the memorial side, where we actually showed videos there, that my music actually came from YouTube, so they can't complain. It's their music.
Okay. Yeah.
So about 1 hour of the service will be live streamed, and after that, I'm going to record it for personal use. But you know, I can't stream it or anything.
Yeah. Well, you know, I'm gonna pick your brain sometime. Not right now. It's not that important. But I would like to have a little live music on the show when we're unboxing something. A little background music of that band's playing. I think that would really add another dimension to the show.
It's
but
very.
I know you got to be careful with the copyright stuff, though.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. All right, my cat is moving the camera. Get down. But it's real easy to get the audio onto YouTube. It's fairly easy. Just take your headphone jack from your computer, and if your camera has the audio input, you just plug it in there and select that audio. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing at the live stream tomorrow. See, I've been practicing the last few weeks because I bought all this equipment and I want to make sure it works. So I've been experimenting a lot with it, and luckily these cameras have individual microphone inputs. You can use the built-in microphones, or you can inject your own audio. So I've got wireless mics. I've got computer inputs. This new program I got, everything's on a tablet. You just do all your switching through the tablet.
Oh, wow.
Controls the audio, and there's no wires, totally wireless, which is pretty cool. And I think I'm going to try to make some extra money when this is all over with. And I've got the equipment now, and now time for it to pay for itself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I hope that works out. I'm sure it will. You've made some pretty amazing videos going back a long ways. I mean, you've had a channel for a long time, haven't you?
Yeah, I got it in 2006.
2006. Wow.
Originally, it was just a place for me to store my videos. That's all I was using it for, just a place for my videos. And then I started seeing people making money, and I go, wait a minute. I looked at some of my videos, and they had a lot of hits. And then when I finally got to 1,000 subscribers, then I started pushing the subscriber. I wanted to get 1,000. Once you get to 1,000, you start monetizing. And that's when I started making money. I make about $100 a month off YouTube.
Yeah,
that's about it.
That's mostly commercials, right? I mean,
it's all ad.
Yeah, you get like $4 a commercial or something. I mean,
it's a lot less than that. But you have to have minimum requirements to even get to it. Once you get to 1,000, you still have to have
4,000 hours. Yeah,
I think it's 44,000 hours in a year. Which
I think it's just 4,000 hours.
Is it 4,000? I thought it was more than that.
No, I'm pretty sure it's 4,000 view hours in a year.
Yeah, and I've got more. I got way more than that. I got I got one video that's got over 1 million views already. So that helps.
Yeah, no kidding.
That was my Space Shuttle Columbia accident video. That had a lot of hits. A lot of my Dimebag Darrell videos have 700,000 hits. So those were already gaining hits years ago.
That's huge, yeah.
And also, I just found out the other night, I just happened to see something on YouTube on an advertisement for a TV show. And I thought it sounded familiar, and I clicked on it. I had forgotten, probably about 15 months ago, I was contacted by Netflix. They wanted to use my Columbia video in one of their series. And I gave permission, and I just happened to see it last night. It premiered last week.
You made a post. Somebody made a post about that because I watched part of that.
Yeah. He was friends with the guys on Columbia. Then they only showed about 10 seconds of my video, but and I didn't get a penny for it. But
right.
I did get a credit at the end. I had my name in the credits. So
yeah, I saw the credits. Yeah, you were talking and you showed the credits at the end. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, some videos, I've gotten lucky with that Columbia video. It's been on National Geographic, Netflix. I've been on MTV, not for that Dimebag Darrell stuff. I've been on MTV. I've been on VH1. you know, and none of it was planned. None of it was planned. It just things that just happened.
It's crazy.
But you know, if I can make a little bit of money off it, you know, that's what I'm shooting for now with this equipment.
Yeah.
I've got a video shoot that I've been planning. It's going to happen in a couple of months. I don't know if y'all ever saw this old video back in the late 1800s. 2 locomotives they had on the same track, you know, and they just smashed into each other and went to pieces.
I have seen that. Yeah, an old newsreel. Yeah.
Well, that 125th anniversary is coming up on September 15th. I'm going to the exact spot where it happened, south of Dallas a little bit. Pretty interesting story. They had over 40,000 people to show up to watch that train collision.
Wow.
And they had forgotten that those boilers might blow up. Well, they did blow up, killed two people and injured dozens.
Oh, you're kidding me.
And then while the locomotives were still sitting there steaming and smoking, people were running up on the train, grabbing pieces as souvenirs, and they were burning themselves on it. It was so hot.
No.
So,
well, I had a friend when the space shuttle blew up, the one that you filmed. I had a friend, Kurt, that he worked for Rocketdyne, and one of the engines on the space shuttle was theirs. And so every time the space shuttle landed, him and his buddies would get flown back, you know, to Cape Canaveral, and they'd be by Cocoa Beach, and he'd have stories about that were kind of fun. But anyway, so when the space shuttle blew up, they didn't want any souvenir hunters stealing stuff, because they were sawing things apart, you know, and seeing how everything held up, and they were cutting things into little pieces, and it was really tightly monitored. So they didn't want people stealing little pieces.
Yeah.
Of the space shuttle that blew up, because for obvious reasons, you know. I mean, I don't know what you do with it, you know. Maybe save it later or something. But yeah, it was kind of interesting that he was involved in that, because most of his friends got laid off after the space shuttle blew up, because the program was going to be shut down for a while.
Yeah, it shut down for about 2 years.
Yeah. He fortunately got hired to do all this investigative stuff and determine how the parts held up in that explosion and stuff, you know. But I started out my YouTube channel a couple of years ago on my construction sites, Royce Construction. I started making little videos, and I kind of really got into it during this one remodel a couple of years ago. I was making, like, for a while, daily videos of the progress, you know. And then I started, Betty and I got our real estate licenses, and I started making touring the Central Coast, where you could tour all the interesting places on the Central Coast, whether it's San Simeon, where Hearst Castle is, whether it's Cayucas, Morro Bay. I started making videos of all these areas, like Avila Beach. We take the trip through Avila Valley, stopping at the hot springs and stopping at the Avila Valley Market, where they got all these animals out there and stuff, and ultimately winding up at Avila Beach, which is what, you know, the trip was all about. But I started making all these videos for our real estate business, where we take you on a tour of the Central Coast, and we're promoting the real estate business. And after that, I made a few for my home inspection business. I got a lot of businesses, but I'm not really that busy, to be honest with you. And that's why I keep adding them, you know. But anyway, then all of a sudden, Jeff and I competed on this wax competition, and Jeff won. And so finally, Jeff says, you know, Royce, what do you want? You pick an album out. And I picked out that Living Color with the red vinyl. And when it finally came in, I go, you know what? I'm going to make a video of this and see how nice Jeff was to let me pick this out. So I made that video talking about how, you know, Jeff was so kind that, you know, he beat me in the competition, but let me pick the video, and on and on and on. And I put that one on, and I made another one the next week, and it's ever since I've just been making these little videos, you know. And finally and it was always just me alone. Then it was me alone live for a little while, and then finally the podcast, which I like the podcast. I like having other people here, you know.
Right.
I don't mind doing like unboxing stuff by myself. In fact, there's actually there's a market for it. These shows kind of go on for a long time. They don't wind up with those other unboxing albums are. But if you just took, like, say, Prince, for example, or the White Album, and you just unbox a single album, they wind up pretty, you see these albums, both of which I just mentioned, you see them with like 7,000-8,000 views, but they've been on for years already, you know. And I might start doing something like that. I might just start unboxing by myself an individual album and just throwing it out there, you know.
Yeah, just do a research on an album. Find out every little tidbit about that album. You know, where it was recorded at, who did backup vocals, who helped produce it. Once you have more knowledge of that album, you can talk an hour with an album.
Yeah, right.
And give knowledge to the fans about, you know, that particular album they probably didn't even know about.
Well, you know, I did this unboxing of soundtracks 2 weeks ago, or not even a full 2 weeks ago. But you know, I unboxed Pulp Fiction, a lot of great songs on that. I unboxed Platoon, a lot of great songs, and Easy Rider, a lot of great songs. And I set the album cover next to my player, you know, my Audio Technica 120 out there, and I was filming where you could see the vinyl turning and you could see the album. And I cut them all off at 60 seconds, made them shorts, and strung them all together. And I'll just turn that on and walk away. And after a week or so, I've got like, you know, 85 views on one of those little 60-second, you know, record playings, anywhere from like 45 to 85 views. And I just hit the button and let them play in a string periodically. I do the same thing with a bunch of construction shorts I made too. And that's been really pumping up the views, you know.
There's something else that helps too. I'm not sure if you're aware of this. Another thing that helps you get noticed a little bit more in the YouTube search engines, if you have a good title, also in your description, make sure the title is mentioned in your description. And then when you go down and tag, make sure those same tags are down in the tag section. Somehow they line up. So if you get that right information and a nice thumbnail too, if you can make a thumbnail, you know, that kind of stands out.
Yeah, no, that's right. That's right. And I haven't always done the best job on that, you know.
No, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to do all that, but you know,
Yeah,
you do it.
It is, but still, if you want it to turn into something down the road, I mean, you got to put the effort in.
Although some of the thumbnails I've seen out there are really goofy, though. You know,
well, when I first started the live stream, I'd turn it on to go live to make a test or something. Before I knew it, clicked. They were taking the picture, and that's the one that was the thumbnail. You know.
Oh yeah.
Totally not right. You know, I mean, I'm like.
Well, I thought they gave you 3 choices on there. Is there 3 choices or just one?
Well, they do if you just make it on YouTube. But once you're like on StreamYard,
oh, I see. Okay.
Take the picture before you're even ready, and that's the one that you use. And then you got to try to change it on YouTube.
Yeah, I got trouble on Facebook. I got trouble on Facebook. My Elvis Presley video.
Okay.
Okay. When I had it on YouTube, the thumbnail they picked out was when the hula girl was doing her hula. And that shot has just her belly, you know, so you see a bare belly. Well, I was posting on Facebook and I was just doing, was it a link? Yeah, it was just a link from YouTube. And I try to post it. Facebook comes up and says, oh no, that goes against our policy for sexual exploitation or whatever. I go, wait, it's a hula girl. It's an Elvis Presley video. This isn't some type of porn.
1973.
Yeah, and I got hit 3 times on that until I had to take that video down, reloaded it, and picked another thumbnail, and gave it another URL because that URL is what was setting it off. Every time I saw that URL, it flagged me.
I got in trouble recently too. Somebody was like, "Hey, put your best picture album up on one of these audiophile type, you know, shows that sites that I joined, and I advertise my show there and stuff, you know." I might have got a couple of people come over, but anyway, so I had this Marilyn Monroe "Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend" 20th anniversary album, and it's a picture album. It's just a beautiful, you know, face on one side, but on the other side is that Playboy picture of her laying, you know, where her breasts are bare. And when I showed that on YouTube, I cut these stick outs on and covered everything up, you know, and that was fine. But, you know, I had pictures of that, but I couldn't find them, and I got impatient and wanted to put it on. I just put it on the way it was. I kind of got reamed for it, you know, and was kind of threatened with, like, you know, canceling me out for a while and stuff. And then even, yeah, anyway, long story, but I apologized.
Did you try to fight it and say, hey, it's an iconic picture? You know, come on. You know, it's part of Americana.
Right. No. I didn't want to draw any more attention to it at all.
I haven't posted any in a long time, but look, on my channel, if you look on my page, I've got like a lot of concert videos and stuff. And the ones that came back to get me was some Bruno Mars that the record company come back and
Ah.
I'd filmed him at a couple of his concerts I went to.
Well, I was thinking about, I was going to make this, channel that I wound up not making. And I may or may not still do it, but it goes to that time period of like the summer of love. And I save video after video on that time period. That's why every once in a while I'll say something about the migration to Haight-Ashbury. And I was actually going to make my YouTube channel, or about that, and then it hadn't happened. But anyway, and have people come on from that period of time. I ran into a guy on a job site the other day that I've known forever. His kids went to school with my kids. We didn't really, all we ever did for years was just wave as we passed each other on the road, And the first time I got to talk to him, he was like up during this whole Haight-Ashbury thing. He saw all these concerts in the park. And I mean, I was trying to get my job done before I wanted to finish it that day. I had to come back the next day because he had so many stories I just couldn't get away from him. And I said, how would you like to come on and tell some of those stories? And he goes, yeah, that'd be fun. And I've actually sent him a link a couple of times, but he hasn't showed up yet. And but we'll get him on. And he's got I was at California Jam, and Michael Altini suggested this week's show before he decided not to come on, be on the California Jam 1, and Betty and I were there.
Was that like in 1974?
Yes.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, the Eagles were there, right. And
Ozzy was there, right? I mean, Black Sabbath.
I think, and I remember they flew Linda Lovelace in on a helicopter. He got up there and told her she loved it.
They wanted her backstage.
And then they whisked her away. Yeah, they wanted her backstage. But anyway, so yeah, we were there, and it was kind of like everybody was excited. It was just a couple of, not that many years after Woodstock, and we were always trying to find the next Woodstock. Me and my friends, we showed up in 17 years old. We show up in this lowrider called the Pink Panther, my friend JC's, and we show up in Laguna Beach looking for the next Woodstock, only to find out that it happened the week before we got there.
Oh no!
Yeah, there was.
I tell you, people came from all over the United States for that concert out in Laguna Valley. And I'm not exaggerating. This will blow your mind, but that Pink Panther was so low to the ground, we had to be real careful getting up the curb to go up to Taco Bell. And we were mobbed by no less than probably 60 guys. And people were sticking their arms in all four windows yelling, what do you want to buy? You want acid, weed, this, that, the other. Everybody in the entire Taco Bell parking lot was selling drugs. And we wound up in some of these hostel type places, walking down hallways, and just nothing but long hairs living in each room, and craziness going everywhere. And it was like, yeah, this was like 1970, I was still in high school, and we just take off and come back. Every trip to California was an adventure back then, 12 days in the Orange County Juvenile Hall, you name it, But every time we came down here, something happened. Because the only reason we came down, because our wildest friend who got in the most trouble was made to go live with his sister in Long Beach. So we'd come down to see him, and things would kind of pick up where they left off, But anyway, I don't want to dwell on that too much.
Yeah, I kind of miss the old days, the way we used to party at concerts. Concerts used to be great. The moment the lights went out, oh man, all you see is everybody's lighting up, and smoke just starts filling the arena.
Right.
And then by the end of the show, the lights come on, and half the audience is still sitting in their chair. They had to come around and wake everybody up because they passed out during the show. It's nothing like that. Now everybody's got their cell phones instead of a cigarette lighter. Back in the day, they used to set cups on fire.
Right. Yeah. If you're trying to find somebody in a crowd at night, they just hold their cell phone up. You know where they're at. But anyway, so I've been wanting really bad to unbox Chicago, because I have the best Chicago story from when I was about 17 years old, and I went to see him at the Las Vegas Convention Center. I don't want to blow it. It's such a good story. You guys are all going to look at me like I'm crazy, but it's just that kind of a story, But I got to unbox the Chicago because this story goes with that,
Cool.
Chicago is my favorite band ever, I think.
What's that?
I think Chicago is my favorite band ever.
Well, I consider them almost like the Eagles in the fact that no matter what type of rock and roll you were into, the hard, soft, or in between, or country, whatever you were into, you liked the Eagles and you liked Chicago. Everybody liked both those bands,
Yeah. And I still think the thing that made Chicago unique was that, their horns.
The horns,
You know,
yeah.
I mean, and they didn't think that was going to work at first. How do you get horns to work in rock and roll?
Right.
But they did it, and it was beautiful. I loved it. In fact,
Well, who else had a great horn section was Sly and the Family Stone. And Betty and I saw them twice at the Hollywood Palladium right after we got married. And I love those guys. I was listening to those guys when I was, 15, 16 years old,
one of the things oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
One of the things I kind of wonder is how much longer is Chicago going to go? Because I heard a report about a week ago that Jimmy Pankow's not with them anymore. Well, he's with them, but I guess he's got a replacement. He's unable to perform right now.
Oh, I see.
So now you see Chicago Country, only 2 of the 7 are there.
Right.
That's it. Right. I go 2 out of 7. What happens when there's nobody? Are they just going to replacement Chicago? I mean, is this going to continue as a franchise? Even without the originals. I mean, because they still sound like Chicago.
Like Foreigner, they have no original members, and they still sound exactly like Foreigner.
Do they really? Wow.
Isn't Mick Jones still in it though?
He comes in and out depending on, I guess, how he feels. He's not with them all the time.
That sounds horrible. No offense. I saw Foreigner on 4 in 1981, and that was an amazing show. Billy Squier opened on "Don't Say No," and
I really love Def Leppard. And I saw them open for Def Leppard. Oh, it's probably been about 5 years ago.
Right.
And I like Foreigner. It's like generic rock, and I'm like,
yeah,
they were better than Def Leppard that night.
Right.
Oh yeah, Joe Elliott can't sing anymore. No offense to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got Brett Michaels. We got the Paso Robles Fairground here, and the fair starts the end of July, and it lasts for 2 weeks. And I mean, it's a real country fair, and the fact that the FFA and the 4-H kids all have their animals there to show, and then they have the rodeo, but also out in that same arena where the rodeo's held, every single night there's a grandstand concert, and then they've got 5 or 6 stages that they call the free shows. Well, they all have a sponsor, somebody's paying them to come out. But I mean, I saw, oh God, I've seen so many great. I gotta turn this off.
That's how they do in Tulsa. They have free concert with the fair, and some nights they'll have country, and some nights it's rock. Just whatever you want.
They were all pretty much country strong, but I've seen some great. I mean, I've seen Tom Petty. I've seen Tom Petty.
Oh, really?
And Bob Dylan. Tom Petty and Bob Dylan. I've seen Slash's. Was it Snake Pit or the other one? He had a couple of. I think it was Snake Pit. It's the one. Yeah, it's the one with the guy from Stone Temple Pilots with the megaphone.
Velvet Revolver.
Velvet Revolver.
Velvet Revolver. Yeah, it wasn't Snake Pit. Okay. Velvet Revolver. And we had really good seats. We're right there, but right next to us also is a great big screen too. But we got close seats, but right here on the side a little bit. Dennis, friend of mine, called me up, and one of them, Betty and I wanted to go. Him and Cheryl were going, and that was a great show. I really enjoyed that. But I've seen. I mean, it's kind of it used to be a little stronger on the country. I mean, Garth Brooks was there, and Alabama came 3 years in a row. I think we watched them 3 years in a row. That was a fun band, Alabama.
I'm like, you're getting some good acts there.
Oh no, they get top acts. Yeah, one of my favorites was Van Halen a few years ago. Van Halen came out, put a great concert on, and it was the reunion thing. So they had, the David Lee Roth. Yeah, he didn't quite get the air he used to get, but who does? None of us do, right? And anyway, after they went off stage and we're all, encore. Eddie comes out carrying a chair, sits it in front of the microphone, lowers the microphone, and sits there for about 30 minutes after everybody else left the stage and just solos. And it was one of the highlights of my music watching life, Yeah. It was so great to see him sit there and just solo by himself like that for 30 minutes.
Totally.
It's fantastic. But we had all the top acts come in there, And a lot of the guys that were top acts 25 years ago were free in the free shows,
Right.
And so it's always a fun time there, And there's a big carnival, of course. It's carnival and concerts, constant concerts. But We've just seen well, Brett Michaels is going to be there late July. It was just announced a couple months ago. I would kind of like to see him. You know, I liked Poison, and he's probably got a better band now than he had. You know?
He's came to our fair a number of times. I mean, I always liked Brett Michaels, but I don't know. If you like Poison, to me, Poison is just a little bit better of a show. I just always like seeing them just a little better because I like CC DeVille.
Yeah, and I like CC DeVille too. I'll just never forget that awards show.
Oh yeah,
where CC
they got in that fight.
So drunk and he couldn't even play, and Brett Michaels yells at him in the middle of the song, "Come on, Cease!" Because he was old, you know? And then
he was playing the wrong song, I believe.
Well,
they had agreed on.
That's where my quip came from. That he's probably got a better group together than he had then because all the partying that was going on. You know, you know, Brett Michaels got type 1 diabetes, and he's had some serious close calls. Even recently, I've read about.
Huh.
And
he's had a lot of close calls. I mean, that guy's lucky to be alive.
Lucky to be hit in the head that time on stage.
Yeah. Lucky to be alive, like Dan just said, because type 1 diabetes, that's nothing to toy around with. So you can imagine a guy like that who's probably not getting high on anything and got drunk lead guitar player back there. And believe me, when CC DeVille was not drunk, I loved his lead lines. He had great lead lines, you know.
They're a fun band.
Yeah, they're a fun band. Yeah, I liked all those bands. I liked all
Scott, have you seen this? Let's see if I can get it. This is the new Pink Floyd at Nebworth.
Yeah, I haven't heard it though.
It's really good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Now, Jeff, didn't you say that was from their last live tour in '93 or something like that?
No, the Pulse one. The Pulse one is. This one is from 1990.
Oh, okay.
At Nebworth.
Now, Roger Waters, I'm sorry, left in like '85, right?
Right.
Yeah, left in '85, and he tried to take the name with him, but it didn't work out. And so he got to take his own name with him. That's who you go to see now. But the rest of the band still has the Pink Floyd name.
Yeah, I saw Pink Floyd. I guess it was right in the mid '80s.
Okay.
And I got to tell you, it was the worst concert I think I've ever attended.
Oh, wow.
Not because of Pink Floyd. It was in Texas Stadium, and the acoustics in that place were awful.
Oh,
And our seating was to the side and up and kind of back behind the stage a little bit. I didn't ever know what song they were playing. I couldn't tell. It's just because it was just echoing all over the place. I'm glad they blew that place up, but you know, but they did have a pretty. I mean, I was watching the stage mainly, the stage presentation they were doing. They had a great light show, and at one point they had a bed at the top of the stadium. It came sliding on this wire all the way down to the stage. It was
oh wow!
It was I forgot what song it was, but during that part, there's a scream that's going on while the bed's coming down. Oh, and they had the big pigs floating. Had the pigs floating up through the Texas Stadium. But as far as audio, it was awful. You know, like I said, it wasn't Pink Floyd's fault, just the acoustics of Texas Stadium.
Oh, that's too bad. Yeah, that's a shame.
Now I saw Paul McCartney there in the same stadium, but he was at one end zone and we were at the other end zone, and it sounded fine. But if you get off to the side and up, oh my God, it's just awful for any concert. Now I saw the Eagles there. Eagles sounded good, you know, but that place wasn't built for concerts.
Yeah,
I saw the Stones at the Cotton Bowl in like '94, and they were great. It just sounded awesome.
Yeah, I saw the Stones in the Cotton Bowl in '89 and '81, I believe it was.
'81.
It was
the
ZZ Top.
Voodoo Lounge tour was when I saw him there. That's the first time I ever saw him.
Yeah, but now for the Steel Wheels tour, I had 6 front row center in the Cotton Bowl. That was one of the best concerts I ever went to. And we were so close, I could hear Mick Jagger even without the microphone. I was that close. I could see him. I could see him sweating.
You know, I saw the Rolling Stones at the Long Beach Arena in 1972. I was living in Long Beach.
Oh my God!
That was the Bridges to Babylon. I have the T-shirt and the hat still. I wore it.
Oh man!
I wore it when I wore
That's
it.
92, I think.
No,
That's
70.
not, Bridges to Babylon's not 72.
Oh, no. You're right. That's the one I got in Oregon. I saw them in Oregon in 92. Thank you. I didn't buy anything from the one in 72. What was that one called? Was that Exile on Main Street? I can't remember. But we saw them there, Betty and I.
So,
And then our oldest daughter, Amber, for Christmas one year, bought us tickets to see them in Portland, Oregon. And of course, we had to go to Portland to see them, and we sat behind the stage. But I'm not complaining. It's the Rolling Stones. And my wife made this joke. The biggest difference was the size of the panties that were being thrown on the stage. You know. Yeah, I thought that was funny. We never forgot that. We both still joke about it. But it was a fun show. That was Bridges to Babylon. You're right. I have that T-shirt and the kind of a reddish corduroy hat that I bought at that show. And when I unboxed the Rolling Stones one night, when I was just doing it wasn't even live. I was just making a little show and then setting it as a premiere. So probably none of you guys even saw that one. But anyway, that stuff's all shown, and a lot of stories about the Stones. One in particular I told. Before I unboxed Stones albums, I unboxed, let's see, who was it? Oh, Stevie Wonder. And I said, you're probably going to wonder why at a Stones unboxing, I'm unboxing Stevie Wonder. And my explanation for that was he opened for the Rolling Stones in 1972 when I saw him in concert. They didn't turn the lights out. Nobody stopped talking. Everybody was up still milling around like no one was even playing. And I was actually a big fan of his. You know, Stevie Wonder's a great talent. And I've got 3 or 4 of his albums. One of them, I think, is even a double album set, a greatest hits thing. But so my explanation for unboxing Stevie Wonder before I opened any Stones albums was to give him his due for the way he was treated at that concert. Because he finally said, and I'll never forget this, after so many songs, he gets up and he goes, I'm going to get out of here and let you guys see the band you came to see. I mean, it was no respect, you know. And so anyway, so I unboxed that first to give him his due, you know, for the way he was treated at that show.
I saw them in Little Rock in I think 2006, and the opening act was Merle Haggard.
Wow.
Merle Haggard come out, and if you remember, that was about the same time as that Johnny Cash biopic came out, and he sang all Johnny Cash songs. I'm like, why is he not playing Okie from Muskogee? What the hell's going on?
That sounds amazing, though, to me.
Yeah.
I was like, why is he not playing any of his own songs? He played all Johnny Cash.
Yeah, I got pretty strong in a country phase for a while. You know, I had a couple of young guys working for me that were real country, you know, music. That's all they listened to. So they come to work, and that's because of that. That's all I'm listening to, right? And then it infected the whole family. And there for a while, we weren't listening to anything but country music. You know,
wow,
that really worked out well at the Paso Robles Fairgrounds because they always had so many good country acts. You know, but
kind of funny because
that lasted for a few years, but not forever. 2 or 3.
Where I live, Garth Brooks used to live just like the next county over.
Yeah,
and everybody was always seeing him around town, like at Lowe's or at Walmart.
Right.
Like I never saw him nowhere, but everybody else was seeing him all the time.
Sightings, yeah.
I was never really a huge country fan, but I did like honky tonk and old school rebel country and southern rock and that kind of stuff, rockabilly. But when I worked at BMG back in 2000, I started getting close with a lot of the business affairs people, and I was actually handling the RLG label, which is all country. And I was like, you know what? I'm like, I want to go to a country show. Can you hook me up with tickets to something? I want to see what this is all about. You know, this is newer country stuff. At that time was Kenny Chesney and stuff like that. And so they actually hooked me up with backstage 7th row at PNC Arts Center in New Jersey to go see the Brooks and Dunn family traveling circus show. And there was a bunch of acts on there, but Dwight Yoakam was on, and I love Dwight Yoakam. I love him too. I didn't really know much about him then, But he blew me away because I'm a huge Elvis fan.
Yeah.
And he came out when he did his set. They were wearing turquoise blue glitter, 50s style. Like if you ever saw Loving You, the movie, the Elvis movie.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
exactly what they looked like. And
Oh,
you
wow.
know they were totally on that whole vibe or whatever. And
Uh-huh.
he came out and he just destroyed. And I was like, I'm a fan. I was like, you know, for newer country, like I don't really like new country at all. Dwight Yoakam is conky tonkish kind of thing.
Right.
He's great.
Yeah, well,
He is.
That.
the streets of Bakersfield. Yeah. No, I saw both those guys you guys just mentioned at the Paso Fairgrounds because they had a lot of country stuff there.
Yeah, I saw Brooks and Dunn.
Yeah, I saw Brooks and
I
Dunn.
didn't see them together, but
Oh yeah,
I've seen Dwight about 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, I saw Dwight there. I saw Brooks and Dunn there. So many. I mean, everybody that was big in country wound up playing there. You know,
Kind of funny. The Stones, they always have their opening act as some big, you know, there was a big group because I saw like Bryan Adams open for them, and
right.
Living
The
Color.
Pretenders open for them too.
We have one winery here that has a big amphitheater they built, and they've had they have so many good acts there. I mean, we saw. Well, no, coming up is Jackson Brown. It'll be about his 3rd time there, but we saw Bryan Adams there before the COVID thing. You know, maybe a year before the COVID thing. Bryan Adams was there. A great show
at the winery. Did you say?
At the winery, yeah, right here in Paso Robles. Yeah, it's the only one with the big amphitheater like that.
My friend, she loves Bryan Adams. So when he came to town one time, he was doing or he came to Tulsa, doing just an acoustic show.
Yeah.
But he also had he had did a photographic book that he was putting out, and he was going to be at one of the local museums.
Okay.
So he has photographed all these celebrities that he knows everybody. Anyway,
Right.
We went to that show and he talked about his book, and then we got to meet him. He was really nice.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I never was into country music at all, really. When I was a kid, we got a local station here called WBAP, and all they play is country western. And anytime I was in the car with my dad, that's all he ever listened to. We go on vacation, and it's a very powerful station. It can reach from Dallas all the way to Minneapolis. So no matter where we went, we're hearing Bill Mack on WBAP. You know, but that was the old country back in the day.
Right.
And so when I started choosing my own music, I chose everything my dad. You know, I didn't want to listen to what he did. I went opposite. So I never listened to country. And then as it got more modernized, I said, wait a minute, they're starting to sound a little more like rock. You know, it's starting to sound, instead of the old country.
The guitar parts and stuff totally sound like, you know, early rock.
Well, see, I remember Ernest Tubb.
I'm not saying early Jimmy Page. I'm just saying early, more middle of the road rock, you know.
But, you know,
we
I never
went to it.
Now, didn't Dwight Yoakam, the only thing I know him by, you know, since I'm not a country person, wasn't he in Sling Blade?
Yes.
No.
He's got chopped up by.
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah, okay.
I'm talking about the movie. I was thinking you were talking about another band.
Oh, no, the movie Sling Blade.
My friend, his dad loves old country, so we went and saw this show. Oh, it's been at least a decade or 15 years ago, and it was Willie Nelson, Merle Haggard, and Ray Price, and it was so good. Ray Price was amazing. He was like 80-something years old, and he still sounded so good.
Yeah, there's somebody named THX on here. I haven't seen him before, 0381, and he's talking about Dark Side, and he came on kind of late. I wanted him to know that I've got an original pressing of Dark Side of the Moon that we unboxed, along with the double album set Pink Floyd The Wall. We unboxed that earlier too.
I think I may have original pressings of both those as well. I bought Dark Side of the Moon when I was in high school when it first came out.
Right.
And same way with The Wall. When it came out, I bought it. At the time, I worked for a sound company, and I actually built speaker systems, custom speaker systems, and we test them out in our sound room. We would use that and Emerson, Lake and Palmer as our sound albums because they got certain frequencies that go low, other frequencies that go high, and we'd be able to measure them in this room. But that Pink Floyd The Wall is one of them that we used as a standard to test our speakers with.
Oh, wow.
I can see that.
That's cool.
Wish I would have kept up with that. we've made some good money making speakers. The speaker system at Billy Bob's here in Fort Worth. I built a sound system for that. It's huge. It took a crane to lift them up into place.
Oh, really?
I made that from scratch. I said, man, I need to make this stuff in my garage so I can make some money. But
yeah.
I didn't have all the tools. I mean,
I drove down there once and saw Hart play in there, and we had front row seats when we were right in front of those speakers. And, I mean, it was.
Well, I put in
here like this the whole show.
I forgot how many 30-inch woofers we put in those things. So the low end is really low.
They are freaking loud.
You know, let me tell you, there are certain frequencies you don't want to get to. We use these 30-inch woofers, and it can actually go below 30. I mean, the frequency below 20 hertz. When you get below 20 hertz, you lose control of your body. You could actually turn that up so low where people will lose their bowels.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that'll actually happen. So
I think I did it that show.
There's a band called Suno. You probably don't know who they are, but they're like an analog band, and they have no drums, and it's just bass and guitar, and it's just total analog, super loud, low end, and that's the same thing that happens. They have so much low end going on, and so much like guitar frequency happening that happens. People like lose their bowels and stuff. It's crazy. Like certain places you go see that loud.
Yeah, and you don't want to have that type of system in your house. That's the type of system you take to your friend's house.
Blow their windows out.
Right.
So you get the Charmin.
Wow, I tell you. So who's bought an album this past week? Anybody?
I haven't.
I have.
I have.
Well, you know, we've got a bunch of really good used vinyl places up here. I found one down in Orchid. In that place, man, I bought kind of an expensive white album because it was like a low number. You know, it's like, you know, when I tell you what it is, you'll say, "Lower, you've lost your mind." It's like 70,000. But when you do the math out of 3 million, it's in the lowest 2% numbers, right? So all the inserts, the pictures were perfect. You know, if there's any wrinkles on them, it's for me fumbling with them. I mean, everything was perfect. The poster, you know, the number was embossed. It was writing around the perimeter of the Apple label, which was another indication. And the stuff that was etched in lets you know also, etched in out of the playing surface, that it was all. So I unboxed that and talked about all that stuff. And you know, but when I bought that, he goes, "Well, let's see, you've spent, you know, with the 3 albums, including the white album." It was really funny. I said, "You have any white albums?" And the guy goes, "Yeah, there's one over there." And I go over there, and there's no pictures, there's no posters. And I go, "Do you have any more?" And then here's the guy that's more like the manager that knows what's going on. He goes, "Oh, yeah, well, let me show you this one." Takes it over to me. I think like $65 frickin', you know, this beautiful white album, you know, with all the inserts. Not a scratch anywhere on either album, you know. But I think I spent just a shade over 100 buying a few albums. And so now everything on the main floor, which is like thousands of albums, is like half price, you know. And then there's some really good places. There's places in Paso Robles, places in Cayucas. I walked on the one in Cayucas. I was working in Morro Bay, and I was getting ready to do last week's show, and I ran over there to see if they had anything that would work at lunchtime. And I found like all this bitchin' Led Zeppelin there. I was like, oh my God, you never find this in the used places. Here's like Led Zeppelin 4, you know, Led Zeppelin 5, whatever. And I was getting really excited, and I pulled them out, and I see a few scratches. And as I was pulling them out, the guy that owns the place goes, "Well, this guy's usually pretty good. He brings in nothing but good stuff." And I go, "Well, look at this." He goes, "Oh, I can see that from here." He goes, "Well, I can see if this player is working. We'll put it up there. You know, they don't always make noise because of the scratch there." And I'm like, I'll sit there while a double album set plays on this player. You know, I don't have an hour. You know, I said, "Well, if I get time, I'll come back later and we'll do it." You know, but I mean, that's, you know, I'm like completely depleted really of like Led Zeppelin. They're like my favorite band. You know, I mean, I had all the CDs. I bought like a great big CD case. You guys have probably seen it, you know, and with every single one of their CDs in it. And I already had a bunch of their CDs. So, I mean, I've got like almost duplicates, and then I burnt some, you know, Take
On
them on
that-
Did you ever get the vinyl reissues at all?
the vinyl reissues. No.
Yeah, for Zeppelin.
I don't have any vinyl reissues. No.
Okay.
No.
On that, do you know how to tell if you have an original copy of In Through the Outdoor?
No.
Do you remember it came inside the brown paper bag? Do you remember?
Yep.
Okay.
Hey, when you pull it out, and then it's got that the more paper inner sleeve.
Okay.
It's a watercolor. Did you know that?
Yeah, you put a sponge on it and it'll change color.
Yeah,
right?
and it all turns.
Okay.
It all comes to color.
Yeah.
I don't
Into-
know. Did they do that on the reissues? Do you
I'm
know,
not
Scott?
sure. I have the reissue. I haven't tried it.
All I had was at one time some old originals, and I don't have any of them now.
Got mine.
I think so.
Well, when I worked over
I
at
have
Walmart,
CDs, and that was like the holy grail for the longest time.
of course.
Yeah, I've got everything on CD.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I worked at Warner, I was able to get all the vinyl reissues. So I have the double vinyl reissues. I don't have the single. So the Led Zeppelin one has three sides to it, three vinyls in it. It's got the original press. It's got, B-sides and stuff like that, like, them doing stuff with no vocals in it, different takes. And then it also has a live show in it. And the same thing with like the other albums. So I have everything, but I don't have Physical Graffiti. It was really hard to get. So I don't have that. I have an original Physical Graffiti from when I was growing up, but I do have all those reissues. And they do sound really good. The remasters are really amazing on vinyl.
Wow.
For sure.
This guy held my album up for moments ago. Just let me know he was my next door neighbor in Henderson, Nevada, Daniel Larson.
Shit.
He goes, THX, it's me, Royce, Daniel Larson.
That's crazy.
I was that little weird kid that used to live next door to you in Henderson, Nevada. That's so funny. Yeah, I hope everybody, I know Doris is doing good and Kathy's doing good. I don't hear much about Kenny, but we were friends on Facebook, and I used to, once in a while, I'd get to communicate with him, but he's probably not on Facebook anymore because I haven't seen him in a long time. Kenny was my age, and he had a sister a year older than me, and a sister, I think, 2 years younger than me. And then Danny came along kind of late in life, Anyway, I'm glad you're here, Danny. I appreciate you showing up and watching the show. I'm glad you like it.
He was the surprise.
Yeah, it's nice when you get these surprises like this,
The biggest surprise I ever had, something similar to this, when I was in the military. I was stationed over in Guam, and over in Guam back in those days, if you want to go downtown, you had to wait for the school bus to come by, and so you're waiting out in the jungle, and the school bus come by and pick you up. Well, there's a little bus stop there for you. Well, I'm sitting at the bus stop, and a civilian, about my age, sitting there at the bus stop as well. And he just keeps looking at me, and I get a weird feeling for this guy. Why are you looking at me? And he goes, "Aren't you Dan McNew?" And I go, "Yeah. We went to high school together here in Texas." And we bump into each other on the island of Guam at a little bus stop in the middle of a jungle.
That's
my
great.
goodness.
And I was overjoyed. Like, oh my God, I remember you. We're all so happy, And then he started hanging out at the barracks, coming around all the time. Then I realized, I didn't like this guy. And now I can't get rid of the guy.
Now, hopefully not.
But it's so weird bumping into somebody literally on the other side of the world, on a little dinky island. And then I realized I wish I hadn't.
What are the odds? That's crazy. That is crazy. Yeah, I had a guy, one of my neighbors, I did some construction work for him. He retired for the first time at 40. He had one of these jobs where he was kind of some kind of electrical or telecommunications engineer. They'd take him and another guy and parachute him into some little atoll somewhere to set up some big radar installation. And they'd drop all their supplies, their food and everything else. He'd parachute it down to him. And he'd be out there for like years building something, and nothing to spend money on. They'd drop all this, food to you and stuff like that. So he wound up retiring at a very young age.
Oh, yeah.
But you know what, guys? I think we're going to close it up for now. I think
cool.
Great show. I appreciate all of you a lot. And Dan, I want, Well, our thoughts and prayers, Betty and mine's both, are going to be with you all day tomorrow. They have been.
Good luck tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's
Good
gonna be
luck.
tough, I know.
Well, it'll be streaming. It'll be streaming as long as I have good connection there. And I did a check today, and I got really good baud rate. I mean, bit rate up there. So it should be. You know, I did that 4th of July one as a test to see how well it would work in a remote area.
Yeah,
well, it was fine. It was fine until the thousands of people that were there jumped on the cell phone towers and sucked up all the bandwidth, and it was gone.
Yeah, I know. I was trying to watch. I couldn't figure out what was going on. You know.
Yeah, it's just that. Yeah, once the fireworks started, everybody was doing it, and there goes the bandwidth.
Filming it, right. But I also want to thank everybody in the chat. If there's an opportunity to hit the thumbs up button, and would really appreciate it if you haven't subscribed. Doesn't cost anything. It just get notifications of upcoming shows and stuff. You got to kind of hit the subscribe little button twice. There's a little bell, and once it shows like little parentheses around it, then you'll get notifications. But yeah, if there's anybody here watching that hasn't subscribed, it helps the show a lot. It doesn't cost you anything, but it helps the show. So would appreciate that too. But anyway, I want to thank everybody for showing up. Thank everybody for showing up in the chat. Thank you guys a lot. I couldn't have done it without you. Okay.
Great seeing y'all.
Okay, great seeing you all. All right, guys. Thank you.
All right. Have a good night, guys.
Later.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.